Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Zoom Into Wine. It's time for the show and your host, Ian Blackburn.
Welcome to the new learnaboutwine.com, home of the world's first wine education website, established in 1995. We are innovators in the wine edutainment space, demystifying wine for over 25 years. Our mission continues to improve our culture so that wine can thrive. To educate and to entertain while we enhance your life. We have gathered the greatest wines in the most celebrated places, all to watch amazing faces. We are the face of wine education. We are the place minds connect with wine and explore history, philosophy, and expertise. We lean on all the senses, including the sensation of passion. The more you learn about wine, the more you will enjoy it. Join a wine class today.
All right, we want to welcome everybody and thank you for joining us tonight at Stars of Pinot Noir Night 3. I can't believe we're here already. I hope you guys have a great time and everybody got their wine okay. Any horror stories out there? There's a chat box down below, and I'm going to encourage you to use it. We're going to have some amazing wine tonight, some great stories, and we've got some really fun people on the Zoom with us this evening. Greg, are you out there?
I'm here. Good evening. How are you?
Cool. Where are you at, buddy?
I am back in LA after 5 weeks.
Amazing.
Little New York trip, little Vegas trip, and back home.
Wow. And you've been seeing concerts almost every night?
I wish, but I saw some good ones.
Well, cool, man. Well, Greg and I have worked together for many years. Greg is the charity conduit. He helps us with our charity 501c3 partner, which is what he does on the road for all the concert tours and stuff like that. He's involved in helping these folks with their foundations, etc. And we've worked together with TJ Martell for years. When the pandemic struck, TJ Martell closed, and we moved directly through to a smaller charity that gives the money straight to Children's Hospital Los Angeles still. And we're still on track to go after that $1 million goal. Where are we at right now, Greg? Are we in the 600,000 range somewhere?
I don't know exactly. I'm going to have to look back, but yeah, every little bit helps, so we totally appreciate it.
Yeah, well, we never make $1 million in an event unless any of you want to donate your son's future earnings or something. But we couple thousand, $10,000, $5,000 an event is what we goal to do, and all of the producers give us some really nice items to work with. Right now, there's a charity auction that's open until, when is it going to be open until, Greg?
It's going to Thursday night at 9 p.m.
Greg, will you put that link inside of the chat box for everybody so they can check it out?
I will.
And I want to just share, hopefully everybody got an email that looks like this today. And here there's a little, let's see, where's that charity link? There is a charity link on here somewhere.
I believe you just click Children's Hospital right there. I thought that's where it was.
Okay, well, let's see if that works for me. Let me open that up. Yeah, that's not working.
Okay,
so
hold
we're
on.
gonna need your charity link.
Here it comes.
Okay. And let's see. We are going to get some wine going. I know you guys have been patient. And there's the auction link, so you can click that open and see. We got some fun stuff on there, right, Greg? We got some trips and some other things.
Yeah, we have a ton of great stuff on there, not just wine, but we do have 11 bottles that still need bids. And as always, we start off the bidding at 50% off the retail price. And since we've been doing this on Zoom, we've been having the wineries deliver it direct to your house. So very, very easy to do.
Excellent. Well, the other links on that email give you a chance to open up a tasting mat. I've got my little tasting mat ready to go here, and it shows me the order. And then there's also a brochure that you could print out like I did and see that we're going to start off going to Burgundy. And in fact, I see Sean on the Zoom right now, so I'm going to spotlight Sean. Say, hey, Sean, you're looking good, buddy.
Thanks, Ian. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. Where are you zooming in from?
I'm a few feet outside of my bedroom here in Encinitas. So sun's setting, beautiful evening. Had a little ocean dip just before and feeling good.
Oh man, you're living life. I love it.
Yeah, not too bad.
Awesome. Well, we are going to go right into our presentation. And these are the wines that we're going to taste. We're going to start off with you, Sean, going with Philippe Colon in the town of Chessani-Montrachet, and we'll talk about that in a second. Then we're going to go to New Zealand and taste Mount Beautiful. And here's the tricky part. Then we're going to go to Hansel, but only if the winemaker from Hansel makes it back to the winery in time. He's in a traffic accident in Sonoma, and we may have to move Hansel back in the lineup. So this will be like a drinking game. See how many people can follow along, because I could really mess things up. But we'll see if the winemaker will join us.
Hey, Ian.
Yeah.
Is that Jason Jardine that you're talking about?
No, I believe his title. It's Michael McNeil, winemaker.
Okay, I was gonna say I'd be happy to swap, and I could go where Hansel is with Rain if you'd like, just to give him a little bit of lenience on the time. So
awesome, we could do that,
yeah.
dude. We could do that.
Cool.
How's that?
Sweet, man. Just want to throw that out there in case he doesn't get here in time. So
perfect idea.
Cheers. Cool. Thanks, Ian.
You bet, buddy. I'm glad you're here.
Happy to be here. Yeah, this is exciting. So good lineup too.
Yeah, man. This is a great lineup. I should also preface this tonight. This is extraordinary. This is a really fun lineup. You're gonna go. I mean, if you're here to get overripe, hedonistic candy in a glass, you're gonna be very disappointed. This is a very special night of artists that are really expressing the beautiful balance in Pinot Noir. And we're going to get in that glass and we're going to be able to taste these wines at a very high level with some really amazing wine talent and get to understand what's going on. These are subtle and these are elegant, and these wines were kind of put together here tonight for a reason. So I hope you enjoy the effort and enjoy it so much that you come back and do it again with us tomorrow. All right, so let's go, Sean. We're going to crank it open with Philippe Colon.
Fantastic. Well, good evening, guys. Thanks for having me, Ian. Really great to be here this evening. Just to give you a little background on who I am, other than what I told you about being outside my bedroom, I work with Cape Classics, and I'm the Director of National Accounts around the Western US. As you can hear, I have a little accent. I'm from South Africa. At Cape Classics, we focus on importing French and South African wines. We're the largest importer of South African wines in the US. And we moved into France a few years ago and have had a really great journey in France. Philippe Colon is definitely one of our top French producers and a producer that we incredibly grateful to have in our book. In terms of our focus as a winery or as an importer, sorry about the train that's coming through. Sounds like it's coming through.
Hold that 1 second. If that train gets loud, just mute yourself for a second, because I want to segue right there for a moment.
Okay.
I'm going to take everybody on a quick little journey, because Sean's company, Cape Classic, took very good care of me years ago, and I got to go to South Africa, and I fell in love with South African wine, and I've just been a crusader for the different great wines in South Africa. And so working with Sean and Cape Classic, we have put together an amazing lineup of wines from South Africa. That'll be our next Stars event. So the train gave me a chance to give you a little more of a commercial here. August 25th, a night with the producers, going from Betevawachten to Rats to Glenelly to Kanankoop to Terre Brûlée to De Toren. And there are many great lineups that you could put together on South Africa. None better than this. So if you like South African wines, or you want to learn a lot more about them and the history and the producers, this would be a really great way to follow up tonight's event. And I hope you guys will stay with us. we are staying on Zoom until the end of the year, and then we'll take it from there. But that's our plan for now. And Sean, how's that train doing?
Train's gone, thank goodness.
Cool. Good job. Thank
All
you.
right, thanks, Ian. Well, yeah, thanks for giving the plug on the South African wines. Yeah, those are all from our portfolio, and definitely some of the best wines you'll be able to buy here in the US, and a great representation across the board from South Africa. I'm definitely slightly biased to South African wine since being from there, but Philippe Colon, who you're going to taste now, also bought a winery down there a few years ago. So you're getting quite a few, French winemakers and international winemakers coming to South Africa to make wine. In terms of our company, what we focus on is we focus on real wines, similar to what Ian was saying earlier. We focus on wines with energy, that have real stories, are made by real people. We focus on wines that are sustainable, mainly organic or biodynamic. We are against the sort of agro business of wine. We definitely are more into the stories and the people behind the wine. So throughout our portfolio, from bottom to top, you'll find a similar thread. In terms of this evening, please let's not make this too formal, even though I've got a jacket on. You can still ask questions and interrupt, please. Let's make this interactive and have some fun, since we are drinking wine and the workday is meant to be finished.
Let's get into the glass a little bit.
Yep.
And then we're going to play a video that Sean hooked me up with Philippe Colon in Burgundy, so we were able to talk to him about the wine. But Sean, I also made a pretty big logistics error, which may work to our favor or not tonight, but we were going to show you the 2016 Santenay, and because I have it in library, and all that's available currently is 19. But we had a pretty good bottle sale out of that 16 inventory, and I didn't have enough to go through the entire show. So we moved to the 19, and I don't think I told you. So
no worries.
We're showing the 19.
Thanks for letting me know. Yeah.
All right.
All good.
So when we look at Burgundy, which is in the Côte d'Or, there's a really famous zone, Chassagne, Puini, Meursault, kind of this amazing white wine area. And just to the north is Santenay, right? Or it's actually just to the south.
Yeah, southwest.
Cool. And you can see it right actually over here on the side of this map. And here's where we are in Santenay. And
and Chassagne is about 3.5 hours from Paris, about south of Paris, slightly east.
That's if you're driving.
If you're driving, yeah.
TGV, hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Smarter way to go.
So, cheers, everybody. Let's taste this baby. 2019 Burgundy from Santenay. You're going to hear from the winemaker about the differences between the 16 and the 19 vintage in this little clip. And they're really good vintages, but just a difference a story will tell. Obviously a young wine, but Santenay does let you drink a little earlier.
To Burgundy.
Also, I need to apologize because we shot this with our winemaker in Burgundy at some ungodly hour a couple days ago. What was it, 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, it was early.
I had a long night the night before, so I started the Zoom with Philippe with this screen up, but I figured it out in about 30 seconds. So here we go.
And meet with someone that I've really had great regard for a very long time. This is a particular pleasure for me to introduce Philippe Colon. Philippe, good morning from Los Angeles. Good evening in Burgundy. How are you?
Yes, fine. Thank you. How are you too?
I'm doing great. We're excited to be tasting your wine. What part of Burgundy are we zooming to? Where are you in Burgundy?
In Chassagne-Morcher.
This is where you make home, right? Is Chassagne?
Yes, it's where is the winery, and the vineyard, specifically the Santenay. It's not so far. It's about 3 kilometers of the winery.
Very good. And how many different bottlings do you make at Philippe Colon?
For the red, only six red. We have the Burgundy generic, and after we have Centenay, Chassagne, and also Chassagne Premier Cru and Centenay Premier Cru. It's very close to the winery. Chassagne, Centenay for me. There is two parts in Chassagne. There is one part for the red. It's close to Centenay, so most of the vineyard of the Pinot Noir is in this area.
And how long has your family been involved in the wine industry?
It's five generation. Wow. The wine industry.
How many hectares are you farming and responsible for?
14 hectares. We 2/3 of white of Chardonnay and 1/3 of Pinot.
Carry the Bourgogne Blanc as well. I've always been a fan of your style, your touch. What do you think you do to make the wine taste like Philippe Colon? I mean, obviously their vineyard designation, the appellation, but is there anything that you believe in, stem inclusion, natural processes? Is there anything that you do that's signature to your family's brand?
No, what I do nothing. It's what I said earlier. The vineyard is very important. So the big work is in the vineyard. If you have a good grapes, you have a good wine. After, I don't want to do a lot of things with the wine. We harvest wood pelling. After, it's very natural. All the process is very natural. We ferment in stainless steel tank, red and white, and after we put in the barrels with without a lot of new wood. It's 20-25%. And after, the wine is speaking. It's what I want, and each one is very different. What I fight to is to have I do 25 different wine. Most is in Chardonnay, but what I want every year is to have particularity, identity for each wine. It's very important for me.
The Centenay that we're trying tonight is the 2016.
Actually, the 19.
We have in our library and is in a beautiful state. Do you recall the 2016 harvest and why 16 is so wonderful?
So 16 is very fruity. It's not a very intense vintage. We were lucky because it's a very pleasant vintage. Not too complicated. The climate was very easy this year. After we harvest at a good time, I think, and what we have with the 16, it's for all the 16 right now, it's a very good balance and very fruity style for me.
And we'll also carry the 2019 Centenay. Can you tell us the difference between the 19 and the 16?
19 is more complex. I think there is more intensity in the 19th. 16 and 19th is 2 years where we had a little frost, specifically for the white, but for the red it was less than in the white. Remember that the 2 years, 16 and 19, it's frost for us.
What are we going to smell in the 16 Centenay that can you imagine the aroma, the way the wine is going to present itself? What do you look for? What are you looking to craft?
Specifically for Centenay, for me, it's red fruit. It's most of the time it's cherry. I don't know why, but every year when you smell, you taste the Centenay, smell dark cherry, fresh cherry. For me, it's what I think about the terroir of Centenay for the red.
Well, we thank you for being here. I look forward to meeting you in person when we visit Burgundy, and it's a real pleasure to meet you in person. Well, electronically anyway. But to hear it from you and to be able to taste the wine. We thank you so much, and we wish you a good future.
Thank you too. Thanks
Have
very
a
much,
good day.
Philippe.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure.
Bye-bye.
I was a little bit nervous. I got to tell you, he's pretty intense.
Yeah, he's a pretty serious guy. Definitely a man of fewer words, is what Neil Martin said when he did one of his ratings.
Yeah. Well, the wines kind of speak for itself, and I will say, for those of you who just came on late, we were going to show the 16. I had a little bit of library, but it was on the website, and we sold a few bottles, too many bottles to make it work, and so we moved to the 19. I still have a couple of bottles available of the 16, but the 19 is what we're tasting. That is what's currently available, and I got to tell you, this is flippin' fantastic. This thing is just, I mean, that's the great thing about Santenay, is that at this level, this is about being generous and lovely early on, and it's got a very affordable price for great wine made by a great producer with a great reputation. And 19 is a really good vintage, but not necessarily in their accounting department, because they didn't make that much wine, but the wine that they did make in 19 is extraordinary. I hope you enjoy it. Notice that it's very tender, very got a nice fleshiness, good concentration like he had talked about, dense. It's got incredible color, and as you swirl it around, you smell, you get that earth first character, but really good fruit definition, and this really nice balance and elegance to it. Nothing hard, and I definitely think that his overall style is, and I didn't want to say that to his face because I think he was going to reach through the screen and give me like some sort of Darth Vader thing happening, but very feminine touch to the wine. Do you like that comment, Sean?
Yeah, I think what I really love about his wines is they're incredibly elegant, balanced, and yeah, like feminine, like you said, subtle. You know, some of the wines in Chassagne can be quite big, bold, powerful Chardonnays, but throughout his lineup, you notice this very subtle, beautiful thread through the wines. You said it perfectly.
Thank you, Sean. The wine's beautiful. Any questions, please put them in the chat box. Comments, what you think about the wine. We'd love to have the producers read some comments as well. And Shirley, you probably got your wine earlier than anybody else because you got bottles. So we may have sent out a 16 too. So you got the library vintage there, but I did not have enough to do this for everybody with that 16, so we moved to the 19 vintage.
Also, just to jump in, Ian, in terms of Philippe Colon's got a really interesting history. You know, his father was Michel Colon, who was married to Delager, and they've been in Chassagne-Montrachet since the 1850s. So Philippe and Bruno both inherited the estate from his father in 2004. They've been making wine together, and they had slightly different styles, so they went off on their own. And Philippe's been making wine now since 2004, and his son Simon now has also started his own winery, Simon Colon. But something to mention is if you do go to Chassagne, Michel Colon, his father, is sort of like the unofficial mayor of the town. And you're going to run into the Colons everywhere because, you know, Philippe's cousins are Marc Colon, Pierre-Yves Colon. You know, Chassagne-Montrachet, it's hard to go wrong with drinking any of the Colon wines. They're all different styles, but show through nicely.
Awesome. Well, I'm really impressed with the 19, and we opened these wines yesterday. We poured them, we shipped them out. Most people got them today. And the wine is just perfectly in a great spot. So I hope everybody is enjoying. That is Burgundy, and if you're not super familiar with it, they make two wines in Burgundy, white and a red. The red's always Pinot, the white's always Chard, and the Pinot Noir that we're tasting today is from the town of Santenay, and we could not have a better representative. So thank you very much, Sean. I hope you enjoy the rest of the night, and we really appreciate you being here and getting a chance to meet him.
Pleasure. Thank you, guys. If there's any last questions, definitely let me know.
Cool. And Sean, we got quite a few comments there. Van Tuck, thank you. Lauren Stalker. And we do have a bottle of 16. 16s are part of the auction. That was also part of my commitment. So why there's not very much 16 left. But we hope you guys enjoyed, whether you had the 16 or the 19. All right, let's go to our gallery and see how everybody's doing. I'm going to take off the Sean. I'll say thank you, sir, and let me find you. Take the spotlight off so you can relax and a train can come through. Something happened here. Here we go. View. Let's get the gallery going. All right. So Caitlin, I have you up next.
Hi, how are you?
Fantastic. We got a wonderful crew of people with us.
With his accent in South Africa, with Burgundy, so it's a tough act to follow, being in Westport, Connecticut. But I'll do my best.
Is Robert here as well?
Yeah, so I think Robert's here. Robert is the CEO of Mount Beautiful, and he's part of the winemaking team. He is on an island somewhere very exotic, and I think he's here. Robert,
Yeah.
are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, yay, there's Robert.
You're planes, trains, and automobiles out there, right?
Yeah, it's been, it's a bit. I'm in Antigua, and it's not super internet friendly, so.
Well, cool. Well, we're going to take a very fast train or a plane, maybe one of those. We had a couple significant blast offs here in the last 10 days. We could take one of those quick flights and go from Beaune all the way down to New Zealand to North Canterbury. That's where we're going to go. And I'm going to go back into the slideshow and let you guys take it away.
Perfect. So Robert's the CEO, as I mentioned. Been with the winery for over 10 years. I'm the national sales manager. I've been with the winery for almost 7. Robert's based in California and New Zealand. I'm on the East Coast, and we work as a team together to promote this amazing, winery from New Zealand. So I'm gonna, let kind of Robert take over and explain why Mount Beautiful is so special. And part of the reason why we're special is that, we're not Marlborough. We love Marlborough, but we're special because we're a different region in New Zealand that, has different terroir and climate and soil. And I'll let Robert, go from here. So
go for it, Robert.
I thought we were just special because of you, Caitlin.
Oh, I'm very special.
Yeah, so the good thing for us, and the exciting thing for us with Pinot Noir is, when you make Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand, there's only so much you can get outside the window before people are saying, okay, you're really kind of pushing the envelope. And we push the envelope a little bit with our Sauvignon Blanc, but it's still a recognized, New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. But with Pinot, it's an open book. We can really let the vineyard speak for itself. There's no New Zealand style. We can make really what the vineyard is, what produces the best from that vineyard. And so we have about 70 acres now under vine for Pinot only. We planted 2 8-hectare blocks in the last 6 or 7 years now. And we have 11 different clones, a couple different rootstocks, but Sauvignon Blanc may pay the bills for us to some extent, but Pinot is really our passion. And the style that we've come up with, our house style, is more, particularly with the 18. It's definitely more on the feminine side. I'm okay with that. I can keep that feminine side going, because it's a little more elegant. It's not quite as powerful as what you get from Central Otago, but it's got really good acidity, good transition from the front of the palate, mid palate, really nice finish. The 18 it started off as kind of a pretty easy vintage. It was warmer than normal. New Zealand's a bit like, I compare it more to Oregon. So if you have a really good growing season, typically your harvest is going to be very difficult butting up against the weather, or the reverse. You have kind of a cold and inclement weather during the growing season, harvest will tend to be quite steady and easy to pick. But 18 was actually pretty good all the way around, which is a little unusual. So we typically make about 3,000 cases under Mount Beautiful, but we bring in about 5,000 cases and then kind of do the blend. But 18 was a really good year for us. I wish I had some. They didn't allow me to bring it through customs.
I have some, Robert.
So I have a Carib with me, but maybe that'll suffice.
The elegance of this wine is really, I think, a significant selling point to it, because it does have a wonderful softness, almost like a crisp cherry to it. And there was a comment in there about how soft the color is. And I think people need to realize just how cool of a growing environment this place is. And when you grow wine in a place with a lot of sunshine, you can get amazing color in Pinot Noir, but this place is pretty damn chilly, right?
Yeah, so we're about 8 kilometers from the ocean, but we're about an hour and a half north of Christchurch, but we're quite cooler than Marlborough, and we get a lot of influence from the ocean, even though there's the Mount Beautiful mountain range. The mountain is right between us and the ocean, but it does get quite cold there. And everybody's been talking about the difficult 2021 harvest. We lost the entire vintage to frost. We made 0 wine in 2021. So before that vintage, I had a full set of hair. Now it's all gone. But it does get quite cool there. So, but it's easier to make let the vineyard kind of express itself with those cooler temperatures. And you can we try to make the wines in the vineyard and do very little winemaking, but you always got to blend to your particular house style that's showcasing the vineyard itself. But yeah, it is quite cool there, much cooler than Marlborough.
And I think the coolness, that maritime climate, gives that wine that really nice acidity, which is like beautiful for Pinot Noir. But one of the downfalls about being so cool is that you do experience frost, and unfortunately there's no 2021 Mount Beautiful Pinot Noir available. But it's just it is what it is, and hopefully 2022 Mother Nature will be better to us. But it's a risk that you have when you plant. It's such a cool climate place.
Yeah, so the 2018 was, like I said, it was a bit warmer. So we started harvest about 10 days early, which is pretty unusual. So it was about mid-March we started picking, and obviously it's hand-picked. And just a little bit about how we make it. So we destem, but don't crush, and then we ferment whole berry. And we ferment in most of our fermenters are 9 tons. So we tend to pick 9 tons at a time. And they're square fermenters, so they're a little bit, they wedge into the winery. So we have 10 9 tons and 1 12 tons because there's always a corner. So that's 12 tons. But we try to keep it as much separate as possible. So anything that was in that 9-ton fermenter is kept separate. And we tend to make about 13 different Pinots before we start blending to that Mount Beautiful kind of house style that we want to keep the continuity as much as we can with the influence of the various vintages. But and we blend about 4 to 6 different times before we come up to the final blend, and then we bottle, or we let it be on French oak for about 11 to 12 months, and then we bottle, and then we try to get another year and bottle before release. But we typically make about 3,000 cases a year. Although 2020, with the new vineyards coming on board, was at 8,000 cases.
Cool.
We're not going to bottle all that under Mount Beautiful, but it just kind of, we're going to grow into that somewhat organically if we can. But yeah, we're putting a lot of effort into our Pinot program.
We're looking at a slide right now that kind of goes over the state-of-the-art winery slide, and shows 650 ton capacity. You have a 50,000 case license there. Most of that's Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah, it's interesting in New Zealand. They don't really care about, you don't have a permit on, it's all based on your wastewater capacity. So you can make, we can add tanks, and we've designed the winery to extend the red cellar one way and the white cellar the other way. So the overall capacity of that footprint would almost be double that, but we'll kind of work into that as we go. But we built it in 2015 just because we were a little tired of doing all the work in the vineyard and losing control of the vinification process by doing custom crush off-site. So, $4 million investment. We have a really nice, fairly high-tech winery that we can expand as we grow.
Great. And I saw some notes about some of your biodiversity standards. You are considered sustainable by the New Zealand wine growers.
Yeah, so most wineries coming out of New Zealand would be sustainable, and it's not a rubber stamp. There's actually, every year we have to get certified, and they do look at everything from what are you doing with your wastewater, your byproducts, are you recycling, are you putting the marc back into the vineyards, and you always get dinged a little bit on a few things to improve upon, which we're certainly, we always do that as well. But I think it's to me, it's just a bit of a litmus test to make sure that we're headed in the right direction. So we try to be as low as impact as possible. We don't spray or any kind of regimen. We really get into the vineyard to find out what it needs, what is it looking for, what is the weather deltas this year, and we, again, try to be as low impact as possible. The other thing for us is we share the property with our sheep and beef farm. So we have a 2,000 acre finishing farm for sheep and beef, and we share water, we share equipment. So we have to be very careful how the two very diverse processes interact, because New Zealand is very conscious about runoff from nitrates from the farms and everything else. So it tends to actually make us a little bit more conscious of those two very diverse activities on the same footprint.
Very good. And this wine has a suggested retail of $27.99, and we're going to be sending people to your, if you click through the brochure tonight, you'll be able to buy the wine from Mount Beautiful, because you're all set up here to handle direct to consumer. And then you guys have some really cool club wines and opportunities on that side of the equation as well, correct?
Yeah, we sell 75% of our overall production is sold in the U.S., and that's really by design. The New Zealand market's quite small in just its breadth. There's only 5.5 million people. So we knew we were going to sell most of the wines in the US, and then the second market is New Zealand, and then the UK, and then Asia. We're in about 6 markets in Asia, but the US is, we have a big footprint here. We have an office on the West Coast in California. We can do DTC as much as we can, and we're in about 40 states now. So yeah, this is our home.
And LA and San Francisco by far are top markets in the US, followed by New York and Chicago. So the wines are, easily available in Los Angeles.
And
Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, and because obviously we're our own importer, we also bring in a couple other wines. We bring in Amasfield from Central Otago and Lost and Dry Hills from Marlborough. So those are available not quite as extensively as Mount Beautiful, but we're getting those out there as well.
Cool. Well, you guys, thank you very much for being here and for being involved. And you did our trade tasting as well. I hope some people take advantage of the opportunity to connect with you. And you guys, if you like this wine, and I know, actually, I want to pay you a little compliment because you guys also promoted the event to your database and customers and stuff. We have quite a few people here tonight because they love Mount Beautiful. So we want to thank you guys for joining us. When we put these events together, we're looking for diversity. We want to show some Burgundy and some New Zealand and some Oregon and some California, and not just make it all about one place and have people duking it out, but really showing the difference that place can make with a grape, and learn a little bit about the different terroirs that we see wine from. So this is an awesome example of what you can make in New Zealand with Pinot. It's certainly the complement to the Sauvignon Blanc business that they have so well established, and really the future is very good for New Zealand Pinot if they can make something this beautiful for $28. So think about that, and good luck to you with the 2021 vintage. Well, I guess it's 22 vintage.
2022, we don't have them.
You guys already suffered the 21 vintage.
Yeah.
And like when it open in New Zealand, like we really want to host people, to come to Mount Beautiful, come to our tasting room and experience it. So, anybody that wants to reach out to me and Robert, if they're planning a trip to New Zealand, we would love to host them at the winery.
Or come on out to Antigua. It's great here right now.
That's for Connecticut.
Well, thank you both. And,
thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Ian.
So much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
We've got folks zooming in with us from all over the place, and we want to thank them. Lauren's down in San Diego. You got your San Diego contingent, and some folks down in Manhattan Beach and Santa Monica, Ventura County, Pasadena is well represented. So thank you guys all for joining us, and we want to kind of, different than other Zooms maybe. Some people just show the picture of the winemaker or the wine critic talking endlessly. I love to involve you guys, and I'd love for you guys to ask questions and raise your voice if you have anything that you want to ask or say, or if you like it or not like it. Just be tasteful, elegant.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Hey, Pat, you doing well? Good. You're working. Are you working on a TV show right now? I can't hear you, but let me see if I can do that.
Sorry.
There you go.
We are. We're trying to relaunch Race.
Cool. Amazing Race. How many years have you worked on the Amazing Race?
Since 2003.
Wow, tremendous. It's been an amazing run.
Yeah, and we think we might be able to get out there.
Cool.
It's going to be challenging, but what isn't?
It's a good time. Traffic has actually come back down again, and you can Amazing Race could be a lot faster.
Well, the big thing is what countries we're going to be able to get into.
Yeah.
It's still a challenge.
New Zealand. That's a good one. They've been doing a pretty good job. Well, let's move along because we're on a time thing, and I'm running a little bit behind right now, and I want to keep our winemakers happy. We're trying to keep it to about 8 minutes. We're not doing such a good job. So let's go to our third winery, Hansel. And I know that Mr. Mondavi, you're there, but I think Mike made it.
Yes, I did.
Congratulations. Mr. McNeil, how are you?
Good.
I was gonna cover for you, Mike, but I'm glad you made it safely.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that, Carlo.
Cheers.
Well, so happy to see you, and we are going to taste Hanzel now, and I'm super excited because I've been a Hanzel supporter, buyer for a very long time, but I've never visited the winery, so I've got a lot to learn myself, and let's get into it. You are the winemaker.
Yes, I've been at Hanzel since 2008.
Wow.
This is the 2014 vintage we're gonna taste, one of the older wines that you're gonna have today. So this is a picture of our heritage winery. It's a very historic property. We're located right above the town of Sonoma, up in the southern toe of the Mayacamas Mountains. And it was a winery that was founded by Ambassador James Ellerbach. And in 1953, he planted 2 acres of Chardonnay and 4 acres of Pinot Noir. We still have the 2 acres of Chardonnay and the 2.5 acres of that Pinot Noir. Wine can't be made without great people, and we have a great team. In that lower right-hand picture, that's Jose Ramos, who has been with the winery, been our vineyard manager since 1976.
Wow.
And his son is just to the left, and that is Cesar, our cellar master. Next to him, moving to the left, is Jim Dosher, our winery superintendent. He's been making wine and in the wine business since 1973. And above him in the upper left is Jason Jardine, our president and director of winemaking. Yours truly is next to him to the right. And to the right of me, there's Linda Hansen, our associate winemaker, our work spouse, or my work spouse. And a great friend. So a lot of really great people, a lot of very long-term employees, which I think is important to have the kind of continuity that we've had. Gosh, those tasting notes there, I don't want to read them, but that was done at least 5 years ago. And the wine has obviously evolved since then.
Did we get the wine to you, Michael? Are you tasting with us?
I brought it from the winery. I brought it out of the cellar. And I think it's tasting quite amazing. In the 14 vintage in general was a much more approachable vintage for us than we had seen previously, and
comparing it to 13 or 12.
Yes,
sure,
definitely. Hanzel Pinot Noirs and Chardonnays have been known for their ageability. Pinot Noirs typically go a minimum of 20 years, and I can tell you firsthand that the wines from the 60s are still fantastic. Not that every vintage is going to go that long, and certainly some of the wines from the 80s did not fare very well, but I'm pretty confident that this one has a long life and ahead of it.
And I think a lot of these initial tasting notes, which is what we do, we write what we taste at the time, but they've just all kind of been elevated by time. That orange peel has become like a little bit of a candied orange peel or a dried orange peel, and all these flavors have really harmonized, and this is just I think this is like spot on what you'd want to have represent Hanzel. It's just a really beautiful showing of a wine that's now 7 years old and been given some wonderful time. So
yeah, I think what's really remarkable about it is that on the entry, there's a real a silkiness, a suppleness to the tannins, but there's still a real verve or energy on the palate, especially towards the finish with the acidity, just still very, very fresh and vibrant. and it's the kind of wine that I think, it's one of those you can have your cake and eat it too. It's delicious in its youth, but it's going to have a lot of legs ahead of it.
Well, since we opened this yesterday morning, I mean, it's also took a wonderful kind of turn and twist. Some wines open and change just a little bit. I think this wine is really just was so pent up and built to age that the day that it's been open, it's just so calm and so like a pool of calm now. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, I'm really pleased how it's turning out. The 14 vintage in general was a very early vintage. Also one of a series of good sized vintages for us. 12, 13, 14, and 15 were all really good yields for us. But 14 in particular was very early. It was in the midst of the drought, and we were harvesting early August on the property, which is, we're normally quite early. We have bud break before anybody else in the area, and once you have flowering, the clock can set your time to harvest date, and it was early for us. So you're seeing some pictures of our farming practices, which is something that we're quite proud of. We do have sheep and the baby doll sheep, American guinea hog pigs, lots and lots of chickens, geese, ducks that we farm intensively through our vineyards. And what you see there, just saw there on the back of that tractor is a crimper that, because we plant cover crops that we plan out for what we feel the soils and the soil needs. But instead of mowing the grass, we crimp, and what it does is it lays the cover crop down, and those bars on it don't break the stalk, but they bend it and don't allow the grasses to come back up. And what that does is lays down this great mulch, a living mulch. Those grasses stay alive and the roots active, so it's helping to feed the soil microbiology while it's there. And it's kind of been one of our responses to climate change, and obviously doing this helps conserve water, soil moisture, but most importantly, it's all about feeding the soil microbiology and improving the fungal aspect. We do a lot of, some of our cover crops are carrots that we interplant in the vineyard. We also have a large gardens that we are bringing other crops onto the property. And also we're trying to integrate the oak forests that are between our vineyard blocks. So it's all about really creating an integrated farming practice for us.
Michael, it says on the back label that you've been around for 60 years as a brand. Mm-hmm. Have you been Pinot Noir the entire time?
Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, yeah. We also have a small amount of Cabernet, but it's in certain periods we've had Cabernet, but it's all about Chardonnay and Pinot Noir for us. You can see our lambs, and we have Italian marimba sheepdogs that stay with the sheep. Yeah, so you can see our fencing. We're doing intensive grazing through the vineyard blocks. And then animals do what they do, and really provides green manure for us for the vineyards.
Well, the wine's showing great. It's great to have you. I'm so happy you made it to our Zoom. And we got about 40 tasting kits out there. in the universe for everyone, and a number of bottle kits as well. And so those of you that are tasting the wine, if you have anything to comment on, please put it in the chat or say something now if you want to ask Michael a question. I think by wine 5, they're going to be very talkative, Michael.
Oh, I'm sure.
But it was great to have you. Julie, how you doing? It's so good to see your face, Julie. And your husband there. Thank you both. So glad you can join us tonight. Camden and Matthew, thank you for joining us. I haven't seen you on our Zoom before. Is this your first time? Wonderful to have you. Where are you guys zooming in from?
We're from Portland, Oregon.
Wow. All right. We got some Oregon coming up next.
We're excited about it.
All right. Well, let's do it. Let's get there. And thank you again, Michael. Good job. Beautiful presentation. Love the animal photos are always a winner.
Yes.
Good job on the slideshow. And the wine is just amazing. I do have 14 and 16 on the Merchant of Wine, but only in small quantities. I believe the current vintage might even be 16. Is that possible?
The 16 vintage of Pinot Noir, yeah.
Yeah, Is that the current vintage? Great.
Yeah.
Cool, so I can still pick up a little bit more if you want to try either of those, but these are really a wonderful wine to have in your library and watch them progress, 15, 20, 30 years maybe. This type of style that can get you there, and it's a lot of fun. And I think there's a Magnum of Chardonnay, Greg, on the auction. Is that possible?
Yes, absolutely. We do have a Magnum of Chardonnay.
Cool.
And we have one bid on that, so definitely scoop that up. I think probably Lisa Test has the winning bid on that one.
Yeah, well, that's good odds. Good odds.
But actually, before we start, I just want to shout out a couple of our high bidders. Thank you to David, Denise, Lisa, Josh. Thank you for generous bids. All the money raised for all the tastings throughout the year go to Children's Hospital in Los Angeles.
Beautiful. We're going to go to Oregon now and taste with Todd Alexander. Todd.
How you doing?
So glad to meet you.
Yeah, likewise.
I'm really stoked to taste this wine with you. Your distributor down here in Los Angeles brought these into me, and I was so taken by them.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I've been making Pinot from the Willamette since 2015. So, yeah, I think what everyone's tasting is the 19 vintage. I think that the 19 is a really, really, really great vintage down there. I've heard people compare it to 91, which is one of the top vintages of the 90s. So, yeah, this is the 2019 Holocene Memorialis bottling. So I
also have your other one. I couldn't decide which one I liked the best, so I got them both.
They're very different. I don't
do that very often. I really prefer to just carry one wine per winery and focus on that, but they're very different.
Yeah.
We're just going to talk about this one today, but someday we're going to have to talk about this one too.
Yeah, for sure. They are really different wines. They're grown about an hour and a half apart. The Memorialis that we're having is from the Yamhill Carlton AVA. It's a west-facing hillside, marine sedimentary soils, ancient uplifted seabeds. But before we get to that, I'll just talk a little bit about me and my background. So I was the winemaker at Bryant Family Vineyard in Napa Valley, and I spent about 5 years there. Before that, I was at Plump Jack and Cade Wineries. I was on the winemaking teams there. And I moved to Washington/Oregon in 2014. And I worked with a winery called Force Majeure. And I launched an estate winemaking program for that winery, focused on Syrah and Bordeaux varietals from estate vineyards. But when I moved up to the Pacific Northwest, I'd always really loved wines from the Willamette. So I knew I wanted to work with Pinot Noir, even if I wasn't going to be doing that in my quote unquote day job. So pretty much as soon as we arrived up here, I started looking for some vineyards to work with. And one of my friends, colleagues that I had met was Drew Voigt, who at the time was the winemaker for Shea Winery in Willamette. And he introduced me to some people, some growers with some really good vineyards. I wasn't interested in buying fruit from really large vineyards. I wanted something really small and farmed by hand and farmed with care. So the Memorialis bottling that we're having, this is from an 18-acre site. It's 777 Pomard and 115. And it's just it's farmed organically. It's all dry farm. I've been working with this vineyard since 2015, and I think working with Pinot the first couple of years, it taught me a lot just about the way I made wine and the way I wanted to make wine. So it's kind of informed. It's a very delicate wine. It's a very delicate grape. It shows a lot of transparency of not just place, but of winemaking fingerprint. And if something goes wrong, it's very obvious. So it's really informed the way I make other wines as well. And as far as my winemaking style and my philosophy, it's cliche, but it's all about really good farming. For Force Majeure and some other projects that I work with in Walla Walla, we start with just really, really good farming. And I'm a minimalistic winemaker. So I do native yeast. I don't fine, I don't filter. So this wine, the Memorialis we're having, is about 60% whole cluster. In 2019, I was talking about the vintage a little bit. We had some storms and some rain in September. There was a little more sorting than there normally has to be done. Really, at least last few years, I had worked with fruit. 19 saw more sorting, just some issues with mold and things like that. So just slow throwing that stuff out. But 60% whole cluster, so you get nice texture. It's a little bit of a cooler vintage relative to 18 that came before it, but the wines have really nice structure, and I think they're going to age really well. The ML Carlton AVA tends to produce wines that are a little riper and a little fruitier, even though I don't consider this like a fruity wine. I think it's pretty savory. I think the stems, the whole cluster helps with that. Yaml Carlton can produce higher alcohol, riper wines relative to other AVAs in the Willamette. So, the other Pinot that I make is called Apocrypha, and it's an hour and a half south on a south-facing hillside. Gets a lot more sun. It's just really interesting the way, Pinot Noir is very transparent to where it's grown, and Syrah is very much like that as well. I find them really, it's a really interesting varietal to work with. And Holocene for me is it's not a huge, it's a very small production. I make about 500 cases right now, but I'm going to grow that. I was going to grow it last year. I'd added 3 more vineyards and then the fires hit. So I was not able to, I had to basically, I think I only brought in 1 Pinot vineyard, and I ended up making some Syrah with Holocene, and I made a Pinot Gris, which is right here. I just bottled this today. And that's the first time I've worked with Pinot Gris, and it turned out great. But a lot of the Pinot Noir just got smoked out. So this year I'm hoping I can we'll see. There's a lot of fires going already. So I don't know what's going to happen. It's scary.
It is scary.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of character here. And I think having you on the Zoom will help us get into it a little bit more. But that stem inclusion is not something every winery chooses to do, although probably more wineries on this Zoom are doing it than are not. But it really adds these aromatics and the mouthfeel, and it kind of slows the wine way down.
It does.
It requires some patience from the consumer to kind of understand that and to wait it out a little bit. But I opened this yesterday, and now the aromatics have really kind of intertwined. If you just opened your bottle tonight, it might even appear a little stemmy, like firm and underripe at the moment. But a day later, here we are tasting the wine, and it's really harmonizing, and that's what I I found when I tasted it before, just the potential that this has. And it's got almost some kind of bitters, Aperol kind of character going on at the moment.
So one thing for me, like, with Force Majeure, I make a lot of, one of the vineyards we have is in Red Mountain, and it's it gets ripe, and I don't want to make super ripe Pinot Noir. So I do tend to pick a little bit earlier, and I do like whole cluster. I like the freshness. I think the stems bring a lot of energy and freshness to the wine. Now, the acidity in Yamal Carlton tends to be a bit lower. Like if you have the Apocrypha next to this, the Apocrypha is a lot more acid. It has a lot of, it's a pretty intense wine, but it's not as broad, and like the Memorialis kind of spreads out on the palate. And it's got a little bit of that like kind of soil, like mushroom forest floor kind of thing. I mean, I'm a big fan of whole cluster. I started out, I've done 100% before, but I think, 60, depending on the vintage, 60%, 30 to 60% is kind of the wheelhouse. Anyway.
They're really cool wines. You made 500 cases or so of them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, tremendous to introduce people to these. I was introduced this year. If anyone is on the Zoom that's tasted these in years past, you're a little bit ahead of me, but I'm always loving to find stuff to introduce people to. So thank you for doing this with us.
Of course, thank you.
And continued success with Force Majeure.
Thank you.
And thank you for doing it.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
You got it. But now that people have tasted these, Greg, there's going to be some bids on these wines. There's not a lot of these wines available, but I would highly recommend, if you're a collector, grabbing a few bottles, putting a few down for a couple of years, with a small 500 case producer. And by the way, the packaging, Todd, whoever's consulting with you on the packaging, you keep them around. They're doing great stuff, man.
Thank you. Yeah, we do it all ourselves.
Your bottles are all so cool looking.
Thank you so much.
And there's a nice, do you have to do the waxing yourself too, all by yourself?
Yeah. I do wax a lot of them myself. The Apocrypha label is the wife of the bass player from Nirvana did that this time. So it's pretty cool.
Cool.
But anyway, yeah, we try to have fun with it because why not,
That's great.
So
cool. Well,
that one.
Very, very neat. She painted it, you mean?
It's actually like it's a 12-foot tapestry that's hand woven.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So we took photos of that and then rendered it. All the gold foil on that label is actually like gold thread. If you look at the actual tapestry, it's pretty cool. It took her a long time to make it.
That's cool. Well, Carlo Mondavi knows a lot about that. His sister's making some amazing artwork and being turned into labels everywhere.
Awesome.
That's right.
Carlo, we apologize, we're running a little bit late. I've got one more wine right in front of you, but you know what I could do, if everyone's cool with it, we could taste Carlo's wine right now, and then we can move to the Latour. Is that all right with everyone? Like I said, it's a little bit of a drinking game.
There's no worries, Ian, but whatever is best for you. Yeah, easy.
I'm running a little bit behind, and I've recorded with Latour, so I can do that if everyone can make that shuffle. We're going to taste wine number 6 and then come back to number 5. All right, so Carlo Mondavi is on the Zoom with us. I will say that in the world of busy people, Carlo keeps his calendar quite full. So, man, you got a lot going on. Just got engaged.
I did. Yes.
Congratulations.
That's the biggest thing is thank you very much. We're really happy, excited. My fiance makes wine as well, as you know, so we're 2 peas in a pod.
Oh, cool. And are you back in California now?
Actually, Todd, if you're in Portland or in the Willamette, I was going to say, if you want to come out, I just hopped up to my friend's vineyard in the Willamette to give a sustainability talk on the Monarch Challenge and a solution to the Monarch Challenge, which is a movement that I began to elevate farming and get rid of the carbon footprint and get rid of chemicals from agriculture. So it's a long story. It's an electric driver optional tractor, and but I'm going to give a sustainability chat tomorrow at 11 a.m. at Lingua Franca, Todd, if you can make it.
Cool.
But yeah, no, I'm at my friend's vineyard right now, and so yeah.
That's awesome. The world through your eyes is quite cool from outside looking in, but I'm sure you have to move quickly.
This is just it's something that I dug myself into. It's a challenge that I wanted to protect our soil microbiome and our farm biology, and ended up also working towards protecting our climate through getting rid of fossil fuels and our fossil fuel dependence in agriculture. So it's a long story, but that's a separate thing. But it ties all back to rain and the beginning of rain, and my brother and I, and our focus to make wines that can sit in the company of the best wines of the world. So it's been a long journey.
Well, awesome. I'm just going to have to go back and find your start of your slideshow, and it's almost there.
Amazing.
And before you start talking, I know you're not going to tout your own scores so much, but congratulations on the continued good press. Some huge scores. Suckling, I've never seen Suckling give scores that big on California Pinot.
It was really, really humbling, and I never imagined in a million years that we'd get reviews like this. When Dante and I began Rain, wines of this style were, I think, not scored very highly. More elegant wines of finesse and retention of acidity and elegance. But I went back to a style that my grandfather was making wines. My father was making wines in the 70s and 80s. But so yeah, it's been humbling and incredible. Thank you.
Well, if anybody doesn't know, the last name is Robert Mondavi, and there's his dad, Tim.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've been able to tell you personally, but the reason I work in the wine business is Robert Mondavi invited my entire class to his winery. We started a chapter of the American Institute of Wine and Food. Things went very well. We had some goals, and he invited us all up, and we spent the whole day with Margaret and he in 1991 sitting on the front lawn of the winery having lunch for about 4 hours. And it was really one of the great moments that led me into the wine industry.
My grandfather I didn't know what he did when I was little, but I knew I wanted to do what he did. And the more that I hung around in the cellar and in the vineyard, I confirmed that. My father, when the two of them would get together and talk, it was always magical. And so, of course, set the hook from a young age. And these are some of the bottles that inspired Dante and I to begin Rain. We no longer are associated with Robert Mondavi. It's a long story, but it turned out to be the best thing that could happen to my family. And so Dante and I went off onto the true Sonoma coast, to the edge of where you can achieve set and ripen fruit, right in front of kind of where we are. The three vineyards that we work with and farm and produce is one of the deepest channels of water in the world. And it creates an incredibly beautiful cooling effect that is just incredible for Pinot Noir. And so retention of acidity, freshness, and vibrancy. To talk really quickly about our philosophy at Rain, I think the name Rain ties back to that story, and it has a double meaning. So it's the idea that rain, R-A-I-N, so rain that falls in the field, becomes wine naturally without doing anything at all. And then the unique, actually you can kind of see it on the outside of a grape. There's this wax. You can see if you can see my hand right now. I just polished that off. That wax collects all the native yeast that's floating through the air. There's over 50,000 individual yeast cells in any given berry. So if you think about it, it rains on the fields, filters through the rocks, the vines drink, the sun sweetens it. And then if you do nothing at all, a bee will come bite the grape open, or a bird will peck it open. The juice mixes with the skins, sugar plus yeast yields alcohol right there without intervention. The rain that had fallen on the field and was sweetened by the sun becomes wine without doing anything at all. And then the unique spelling, R-A-E-N, stands for our dedication to research in agriculture and enology naturally. So all of our wines are natively fermented. We don't add yeast. We don't allow yeast in the winery. We don't fine. We don't filter. Similar to what Todd was saying about his wines, Rain loves whole cluster. And the best vintages were 100% whole bunches. 18 was an incredible vintage for us. One of the vintages that with climate change we are longing for. Incredibly cool, beautiful, elegant vintage. And so in 18 we have 100% whole bunches in our wine. I think the A for agriculture, I just want to touch on that really quickly because that's something I'm deeply passionate about. And I really want to thank my grandfather's generation and my father's generation for giving us a lot of confidence in our understanding of microbiology on the enology side. So I think the cellars are comfort zone. Agriculture is the area where I think the last 40, 50 years of farming has gone kind of awry. And that follows the dedication to science. But agriculture is so important. So Dante and I, we have a trilogy that we follow. The first form of agriculture that we consider the holy grail of farming is permaculture. And that's where the farm permanently sustains itself. You have beneficial flowers that bring in beneficial insects and kick out the bad. It stresses biodiversity and polyculture and all of that. And then if we can't find a permaculture remedy, we go to a biodynamic remedy. The one area where we always go back to the permaculture is that we don't keep our own livestock. In fact, while we're on this, I got a message from the Sonoma County Wildlife Rescue that we're going to release a little family of foxes on our property. So when you have animals on your farm, you need to protect your animals from the native animals. And so you end up kind of having a little bit of a fenced off area. And so we want the forest to not stop at our edge of our vineyard. We want it to flow through. And so we encourage wild animals, mountain lions, bobcats, foxes, bluebirds, owls, and all this to create biodiversity so that not one individual element on the farm, bad or good, can take off. It's all about those natural balances. And so we really encourage the good. So that's where we go back to permaculture. And if we can't find a permaculture remedy, we base out at organic, and we are a no-till farm because of, I think, my belief in quality, but also because of climate change and our abilities to retain carbon and greenhouse gases in the soils and help create a healthier soil microbiome in doing so. This is our vineyards, the winter microflora. I think it's so important. Royal St. Robert Bodega. We farm about 18.5 acres in total as a winery, very small team dedicated at the highest level. If you go to the next slide there, Ian, I think it might show the spring. So this is the spring perma cover crop. So we don't sow a cover crop. That's a native, naturally regenerating cover crop. On the right, it's sour grass, which is actually the Native Americans used to chew on this to help with stomach aches. It's kind of a homeopathic, beneficial flower. And then crimson clover on the left, white clover. And those are 3 generations that naturally resow themselves and also are throughout the growing season. So that it's kind of chronologically from right with the sour grass to the crimson clover to the white clover on the top. And then you can see the owl boxes behind Royal St. Robert there, which help us with our gopher problem. Probably doesn't do enough help, but we'll take every step we can. And gophers aren't all bad. You just don't want, you don't have that balance. They can run rampant. So that's why we love biodiversity. Bluebird boxes, bluebirds to get rid of blue-green sharpshooters. Blue-green sharpshooters are the vector for Pierce disease, which essentially slowly stresses and kills the vine. They don't like the way vines taste, but bluebirds love the way that blue-green sharpshooters taste. So it's pretty cool. We put out 18 of these, and that was the first one we put out above Bodega. And we were coming back down after putting them up throughout Royal St. Robert, and there was a bluebird sitting on top of that box. And we're like, all right, let's see if this works. And we are super happy to say that since introducing the bluebird boxes, the blue-green sharpshooter population has gone down, the bluebird population has gone up. So all these ideas of permaculture and have been really beneficial to our farm and help create, I think, a better overall landscape to make more incredibly healthy plants that make incredibly healthy clusters and berries and more delicious wines at the end of the day, which is so important. And so that's kind of the overall landscape. But we're very small, and we're really thrilled to be here with you, Ian, and to be sharing our wines and continuing on with our mission and movement. So.
Well, the wines are reflecting all your passion and all your decisions. And this wine, 96 points, James Suckling, on the 2018 that we're tasting tonight. And did the 19s just get the scores too?
Yes, I am terrible with knowing the numbers, but I do know that we were considered in the top wines of his 100 wines of the year, which was I think
one of them was 99 points. That's what I remember.
Yeah, I joke that, yeah, it's been lovely. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, the wine is showing, but what we have in the glass, whether it got the score or not, this wine is so awesome, and it really just continue. I mean, this is a wine that you want to be able to collect a few bottles, put them in your cellar, watch them mature. We tasted 18 with you about a year ago, and this wine has just really continues to just grow and improve and show all the passion that you have. So it's really, really beautiful. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Ian. Honor to be here. And I wish I had the glasses in my hand. That's the only problem.
Well, we all do.
I was listening to all these tastings, and I was going, I want to be in New Zealand right now tasting, Pinot Noir.
Well, I've been watching your Instagram. You taste a lot of pretty good wine, so I like that. You're a great member of the society, man. You are a leader, and we're all rooting for you. So thank you so much.
Every penny I make goes right back into my love of wine. So there you go. But thank you, Ian. Appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thank you. Have a great night and good time in Oregon. Good luck with your seminar tomorrow.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Thank you.
You bet. All right. Hope everyone's doing well. And we have certainly met some star winemakers tonight. And that's the whole idea behind our Stars of Wine, is to bring some great personalities together, be able to taste some awesome wines. And we're going to finish up strong. We're going to go back to Burgundy, and we're going to taste wine number 5 now, just to keep you on your toes. So I'm going to that slideshow. You're not the most talkative bunch, I will tell you that. Maybe it's just a busy work week, but I appreciate the chats and the comments that you guys are making. And let's go to Burgundy. We started off tonight with Philippe Colon, and now we're going to Domaine Louis Latour, a really celebrated house. And what's really cool is that I told Latour, I said, hey, we love Burgundy. We've already got something really special from Burgundy. What can we do that'd be cool? And he says, I've got some 16 Bone Premier Cru. And so that's what we're doing. We're going Premier Cru, and we're going to learn about the wine number 5 right now. And let's watch this little video about Louis Latour. All right, we're gonna now get our Burgundy sense of mind on and go drink some Premier Cru from Louis Latour with our friend Mick Cameron, the Western Regional for Louis Latour. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for recommending this awesome library 2016 Premier Cru.
Absolutely, Ian. Great to be here again. And again, as I'll pull this up. And what I want to do first and foremost is to go ahead and get a sense of, give you a sense of Burgundy. A lot of you would have some impressions of Burgundy, know what that's all about, but certainly give you a sense of sort of geolocation, etc. And the key parameters there. And then, of course, talk about the great history, incredible tradition and excellence of the Latour family. So some of you, of course, would have been to France. Many of you, or some of you rather, would have been to Burgundy as well. And on the left here, you have the map of the what they refer to as the l'hexagone, the hexagon for obvious reasons, the map of France. And I've highlighted the Côte d'Or. So Côte meaning slope, and gold, so the golden slope. And if you look over to the right map, kind of breaking that out a little bit, we have these famous subregions of Burgundy. I like to call the Chardonnay and Pinot the Duke and Duchess of Burgundy. Of course, Burgundy has a long celebrated history of dukes and powerful sort of fiefdoms in Burgundy. So the Pinot Noir, of course, celebrated variety, certainly known for these sort of lighter to darker berries, sort of cherry, strawberry, into even more sort of plummy, darker sort of foresty berry kind of characteristics, a lot of earth notes, some violets, lavender, etc. And all this, of course, depending on where these varieties are cultivated. Burgundy is the northernmost latitude for production of the vine. You can see I wanted to show this slide because it certainly conveys the warm, drier sort of conditions. We're looking at the slide to the left in the summertime, and how the soil is can be very dry, and those conditions, particularly in the summer, can be very hot. So I just want to give you a little quick sense of this, what they call the quality pyramid. And if you the top, of course, is going to be the most coveted, the smallest production, the highest sort of quality of everything produced in Burgundy. And you can see just to the right of that pinnacle, the apex of the triangle, only 1.4% of the top wines is the total in the total production of Burgundy. So it's a very rare air in and of itself. And just below that, 10% of what we call Premier Cru. So sometimes people would understand, some of you would know Grand Cru, that sort of designates a certain quality kind of nomenclature. Premier Cru is the next tier down, some outstanding wines there as well. And you can see that's only 10%. So that number 684, Climat, is the number of parcels, number of vineyards that are represented in that 10% of production, 684. So you can get a sense of the small kind of carved up nature of the Burgundian vineyards. And classified vineyards is a very unique situation in the world of wine. Right below that, you see about 37%. That's the village level wines. All the Premier Cru and Grand Cru vineyards lie within those villages, the names of which you would know: Meursault, Vaudreuil-Manet, Gevrey-Chambertin, etc., Pommard, Puligny-Montrachet. So some famous villages within which we find the Premier Grand Cru. And then you have the regional wines at the base of this trial, about 52%. So there you can source Pinot or Chardonnay from anywhere within Burgundy. You're getting Bourgogne Rouge, Bourgogne Blanc, red and white Burgundy, so regional wines. As far as the story, I'll give you a quick snapshot here as well, the Latour family. So founded in 1797, as you can see, the dashing young gentleman to the left of the screen is Louis Fabrice Latour. So this is a continuous 11th generation family-owned operation. Ian, it's one of those incredible European stories of heritage, again, tradition, excellence, and continuity. And I think a lot of people, kind of have a misconception of, we have, of course, producers buy fruit from all over the world, and they have, the level of winemaking they have, artisan or sort of just good solid winemaking, etc. We have the rock stars everywhere. The Latour family is the largest producer in Burgundy, while owning, I should say, the third largest owner of land in Burgundy. But also producing up and down Burgundy. So we produce over 130 wines every year with 3 winemakers, which you can imagine is a huge undertaking. And we cover the entire spectrum of, again, value wines all the way up to the very top, and the sort of, again, rare air coveted wines there. So largest producer of Grand Cru, we talked about that tip of the pyramid and what that designation means in terms of quality. And a century-old cooperage operation. So this is about 130 years old now. I like these old vintage photos. When the Latours landed in the region in 1737, the first Latour in that lineage was a cooper, barrel maker. And, so this family started buying vines slowly, et cetera, et cetera. But it's a great tradition in this house, being the only and unique producer of barrels and simultaneously wine producer. The Bonne Perrière is what we have. Again, this is 2016 that we wanted to put in front of all of you. This image is iconic. It's the old 15th century hospices that were the first to be built for helping the care for the poor in all of Europe. And you can see the influence. The Dukes of Burgundy, of course, controlled all of the Benelux countries, Holland, and they love that architecture. See this sort of influence, Dutch influence in architecture in Burgundy. So obviously this is just such an incredible structure, a beautifully iconic structure. And they still, like let's say the Napa Valley Wine Auction, they hold a great auction every year here to benefit the hospital still to this day. So let me speak just for a minute about the Bonne Perrière. All the major historical players are located, the offices in this historical outpost, Roman outpost of Beaune. Spectacular, and I know you've been there, and I'm sure some of the folks on the call have been as well. Perrier is an easy one to really talk about because it represents a direct geological reference. So if you think pierre, some of you would know that means stone in French. So you have a really gravelly, very, very sort of Burgundy famed for limestone, of course, not a lot of clay, a lot of structure. And you know, I often think when we do different wine events and show some of these younger, because library wine, yes, but at the same time, you know, this wine will age in your cellar for another 10, 15 years. It's got incredible structure, very, very juicy, dark fruit, very lush style, a lot of earthy notes, some, you know, sort of those smoked meats and sort of slightly gamey, austere, rustic a little bit, but with such lush fruit that all of those components make for a very complex wine. This is a quintessential food wine with that structure. And so, of course, your seared ahis, your grilled ribeyes, you know, your sort of porcini, you know, stews and things that you would do that would have those sort of hearty notes to them. But again, when you taste this wine, I want you to really think about what a wine like this, the time it needs to unpack itself. So you really need to swirl it around to aerate this wine, and you're kind of, it's a kind of a little snapshot into where it's going to go. And it, of course, again, you put the right food with it, all of those structural acid kind of framed characteristics, the frame of the wine will really sort of soften out and sort of be, I would say, subsumed into the food, and the fruit just comes rushing forward at that point with a great structure behind it. So
we're in Burgundy, we're in the Côte de Beaune, we're in the town of Beaune, and we're in the vineyard of Perrier. And this has been elevated as Premier Cru since the Premier Cru system was established over 100 years ago, or about 100 years ago. And this is just a really special site. And Beaune is the major city in Burgundy. And so all these things come together. And so really a recognizable and an important designation, and that's what you're tasting here, is that singularity, that focus on this one vineyard inside of this village, inside of the appellation of Burgundy. It's really special.
Yeah, thank you so much for all those great comments, because that's exactly right. And you know, I really want all of you to enjoy what Pinot can do via this type of a beautiful single vineyard in these cool climate limestone soil conditions, and give you a really muscular, robust, a very powerful style of Pinot Noir. So thanks again for having me. Great to participate with you, Ian, and all of you, and your great consumers, and I look forward to the next time. Frankly, we can do this live, and I can come down there and say hello to a lot of people then. But have a great rest of your evening, and look forward to seeing you all soon.
Thank you. And there we go. I hope everyone's enjoying the Beaune Perrier 2016. And it's one of the many wines that they make at Louis Latour, but they don't make a lot of any of them, really. You know, the Premier Cru bottlings are luckily maybe make a large production would be 1,000 cases of a Premier Cru, and somebody like Latour might have a vineyard that could make that much wine, but that would be a significant land holding. And in Burgundy, they all own this little teeny, some of them just rows of a vineyard. So they'll sometimes blend them together and make a wine of Burgundy, a Bourgogne, and sometimes the value of those two rows is just so high. This wine sells for a relative discount to the marketplace in Burgundy, just south of $100. I do want to encourage you guys, if you go to the website and look at the wines that we tasted tonight, if you like any of them, the pricing I've got online is the lowest in the country, and you get 10% off if you assort 12 bottles. I made the prices absolutely floor and the price. You can look on Wine Searcher, try to look around for these things. There's just no one better in pricing right now, but that pricing goes away tomorrow night, 24 hours later, because some of these I just cannot keep that price up. I can't do it from a financial standpoint, and B, the wineries will hate me. So I want to reward you guys and let you buy some of these wines at the best price. Some of them are pricey, and getting 12 bottles of pricey wine could be too much right now, but you could also assort any wine on the website to get that 12 bottle discount, and some of them could be $7 bottles. So use the website wisely, because you could end up getting some free wines. And our delivery in California is $10 anywhere in California, and in the city of Los Angeles, on orders over $100, it's free delivery. But a little warm right now, so we're being careful about delivery. And you may, if you want those wines soon, you may want to upgrade and get some styrofoam, which we do charge extra for, because no one realizes that it's $22 to buy a styrofoam 12 bottle box, but that's how much they cost. And I can't just give those away. And they're really horrible for the planet. So if you get one, make sure you use it again and don't just throw it away. Or drive it down to your local wine store and become a hero and give them your styrofoam wine box, because they don't want to buy $22 styrofoam boxes either. And so that's the challenge that we're up against in shipping it in styrofoam and keeping it cold and stuff. Any questions or comments for us? A couple thumbs up. That's the loudest comment I got all night, but thank you for that. Hope you had a good time, guys. Van, come on, buddy. Talk to me, brother.
Hello.
My good friend Van Tuck.
Yeah, my partner in crime was in bed with the kids tonight, so I was able to recruit Stephen Kirsch along for the adventure.
All right, Stephen.
Glad to be here. Share our mixed case we're going to buy.
All right, buddy. Good job.
There you go.
Good to see you.
Thanks.
It was great tonight, Ian. I think all the wines. I mean, it's a great contrast between the different types of Pinot styles and the winemakers and the terroirs they grow in. I thought you did a great job putting it out there.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun for us too to be able to have such great wine in the glass, stuff that we could be proud of, and that's what we want to do with the stars. We wouldn't call it stars of Pinot Noir if it weren't really
sure. Well, it's nice having them already open too. They come in these little deals where you don't have to taste the juice that hasn't had enough oxygen exposure. So really works out for the tasting. This is the first one I've done like this. So thumbs up for sure.
The containers work pretty well. I mean, we have to convince some wineries about it, but it's actually like a perfect decantation, and we keep them cool, and it's just really a nice slow way to open these wines up, and they're really kind of in a perfect spot for you.
Okay.
Lauren, thanks for that comment. That's a great idea. Hold your 12 bottle styrofoam shipper so that when you fly, you can check your wine in a styrofoam shipper. That's the perfect thing to do with it. And again, it's another good idea is just take it down to your local wine shop and give it to them. They'll probably repurpose it.
Indeed.
All right. Well, Van, I hope to see you soon. Thank you so much for being here, and everybody else.
Pleasure, Bonnie, and thank you.
I hope to see you tomorrow night. We got another great lineup, night 4. But have a great night, everybody, and check out that silent auction. And remember, the prices on these wines tonight are good for 24 hours. The start of Stars of Pinot tomorrow. Well, in fact, I'll keep those prices up until after the Stars of Pinot tomorrow night, because all of you might be there, and if you maybe want to assort some wines tonight and tomorrow together. If you do buy wine tonight and you want to buy wine tomorrow, we can merge those together, and we'll even create a new shipping dollar amount and all that stuff. It's our pleasure to make it the most affordable way to get you the wine. But grab whatever you want. Some of the wines are limited, and I can't reorder some of the older ones, like the Hanzels and stuff. I got what I got. And there's just not much out there in those guys. And even the 18 Rain, he's on to the 19 vintage. And because he got such big scores, I don't even know if I can get any. So that's a really an impressive track record for him. The Halcyon, a really small producer. We're one of the first accounts here, and I think it was probably one of the first Zooms with Todd. Just super awesome. and the folks at Mount Beautiful, incredible price value. And I just love what they're doing at Mount Beautiful. And if you're here because of Mount Beautiful, thank you for tasting all the other wines. But really a classy lineup of folks. Support them and support what you love. And we thank you for supporting us and this evening. And check out the new website. We've had to kind of say that a couple of times because God knows we didn't know what we were going to become as this whole world changed around us. So we keep morphing. We went back to learn about wine when we got shut down. Our business, Wine LA, got shut down. So now if you look at our website, got a new master calendar. We got a new the Learn About Wine site will be our online classes and events, and then Wine LA will be our in-person events. Stars of Wine, we're trying to keep those planned out way in front of us. So we already talked about South Africa. We got New Zealand versus Australia versus California coming, Chile versus Argentina versus California, and then Stars of Cabernet in November and Stars of France in December. And these will stay on Zoom until the end of the year, and then we'll see where we go from there. But I am doing a few in-person events. We've announced a couple, and we've gotten a partner in Santa Monica. We're also promoting a couple different things. I'm working on a dinner right now. We just did a fantastic show at the Hollywood Bowl with Christina Aguilera. And next month we got the artist Her, but I am running out of tickets. The Her show is really going to be cool. This is with the full LA Phil, Gustavo Dudamel. He is there doing the whole show with the artists there. It's just really a beautiful place. It's one of the reasons to live in LA, the Hollywood Bowl. And if you don't know Her, check out her music. Very, very nice. Not necessarily my first choice of music, but I would go to the Hollywood Bowl to see someone read a letter. So I will go to any show. And in fact, I'll put it out there. If you guys got extra tickets to a show because somebody's flaking on you, just call me, because I'll show up to pretty much any Hollywood Bowl show. And I love my classical, my jazz. I'll be there many times in the next couple of months. If you watch my Instagram or Facebook feed, that's where you'll see me taking a lot of photos. But here's all of our in-person events. We're going to be working at a place called Board and Brush, and we just announced our first champagne taste-off. There's only 22 seats in this place, and it will sell out. It's already over half sold in the first day. So that's good news. We want to fill these up. Not everything we do is a home run, so it's nice when something works. But we are working hard on putting up some more classes, but we do have to move slowly. We are watching this pandemic and being very careful. And if we get too many tickets sold and work too hard on those and we have to cancel them all, it will crush us. So we have to be very careful. And we want to take good care of you guys and do it right. So thank you for your support tonight. Greg, thank you, and the charity. Support the auction. Great way to give some gifts. You got to buy some wine anyway. Give the money to charity.
Yeah, thank you guys. We're already at $1,500 raised, and we'd love to get this up to $3,000.
That's a good goal. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you so much, Ann.
Thanks, guys.
See you soon. Thank you.
Bye now.
Awesome night.
Thank you.